in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving higher.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Markets with Chip Nellinger. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by dawsontire and Wheel, your premier ag tire and wheel provider in North America, helping people grow. Also TractorZoom and delivering insights. And the official work boot of Moving Iron Podcast is Dryshod Boots. Chip Nellinger is with Blue Reef Agri-Marketing in Morton, Illinois. And Chip, this is another roller coaster ride of a week compared to what we saw here in the last couple weeks. It's just, setting up to knock them down. It feels like that's what we're doing here in the last couple weeks. So I guess what's your thoughts over this past week and this last, we had the quarterly stock report come out. We had the prospective planning report come out, and then we had the export report come out yesterday. So kind of a big week worth of reports. But I guess what's your reflection so far this week since we talked last?
Yeah, I think probably I'll focus on a couple bright spots first. Number one, the quarterly stocks report showed, really good demand across the board. The stocks numbers were all on the low side and all well under a year ago, especially corn. Corn, 660 million bushels below a year ago. Just kind of illustrating, number one, even before this whole slide in prices, we had really good demand out there. And prices are cheaper now. And so exports have really picked up as well. We're off to one of the best first quarter starts in exports in years and years and years on corn. So there are some bright spots out there. The bean number, the wheat number on the quarterly stocks report were both on the low side of expectations and well under a year ago. So, that's a little bit of a bright spot. The other bright spot here that's happened the last couple of days is you now have crude oil prices basically 40% off the lows from 2 days ago. We were trading about $20 a barrel. We spent a little bit of time under 20. We're now currently, as we record this, $28 even on the May crude oil contract. 40% in a short amount of time. And that's basically off of talk, news, that OPEC, including Russia, Saudi Arabia, are discussing a 10 million day or 10 million barrel per day cut in production. That supposedly was led by President Trump. So that's a good news. That's good news in itself from the ethanol standpoint. The acreage report, was a little bit of a head scratcher. Showed a big corn number. But I don't know that it's really good news, accurate news, because that survey was taken, prior to this huge drop in prices. So, we're going to have to wait till the end of June until we get the final acreage number to have a better feel. Stock market is still flying all over the place. Unemployment surging, way above what was expected. Over 10 million people, new claims for unemployment in the last 2 weeks. Way above, more than double what I think the market was expecting. So you have a lot of volatility in these outside financial markets as well. You got an absolute debacle happening in the livestock markets right now, unfortunately. And, that's a definite, dark cloud right now. The beef market, the pork market, just literally imploding. Pork and hogs had their own little issue out there. We're kind of reaping what we sowed a little bit in the case of the hog market, because we've just been on such an upward trajectory of production. Most recently here, 4% higher in production. Basically, for the last 6-7 years, we've been increasing our hog numbers 3 to 4% a year, and that's really hurting us right now. You've just had probably the most historic implosion in pork, cutout value in history over the last week to 10 days, and followed very closely by the beef. I don't know how much we lost. Probably I lost count between probably close to $25 on the beef cutout here in 3 or 4 days, 5 days, something like that. And so our futures market, hogs and cattle, have spent a couple days limit down, expanded limit down. And so that is very definitely a little bit of a dark cloud out there. The grain side's at least stabilized. I think it's all par for the course. I think it's something we better get used to. Massive volatility, moves that don't make a lot of sense, sell-offs that come out of nowhere, rallies that rip higher and no one expected. I think the one thing underneath all this that I for sure am watching for, and this may be several weeks down the road, is the president of Brazil has really taken a strange course on this coronavirus thing. And he said some crazy things like, we don't have to worry about it. We don't get a lot of disease here because of our weather. Brazilians have special antibodies in their blood that keep them immune. Rio de Janeiro, I don't know. That's one of the 5 or 6, certainly top 10 most populated cities in the world.
Yeah.
If not top 5.
Yep.
I think karma could slap them around a little bit. I don't know that they're ready for that. And if that really anywhere in South America, and you're already seeing signs in other countries in South America that it's bad and
right.
really hitting them hard. So that moves over with a vengeance to Brazil and Argentina. I don't know how reliable and secure their shipping system is if they're going to be fighting coronavirus and really badly. And I don't know why they wouldn't. The rest of the world is, so why
right.
wouldn't Brazil and Argentina get it?
Well, you see what happens in that country every year when they go on a trucking strike and how fast they have to scramble to get stuff to ports. So, I mean, you couple that with everything else that's going on. I mean, that's a very dumb statement because take a look what's happened in Thailand, where it's pretty much the same climate. Seem to be doing all right over there. So, I don't know.
Yeah, now, unfortunately, they're kind of getting a resurgence in Asia. There's been some talk that it's kind of firing back up in China. Singapore, is kind of fighting, another flare up. So, it's definitely for the foreseeable future changing life as we know it. And that's what these markets are all adjusting to, and there's going to be opportunities. There's definitely opportunities, but it's causing a lot more stress and volatility than what we're used to and what we normally have out here.
Yeah, you miss a crop in Brazil, whether it's the export side of it or just the lack of getting stuff planted like you should and everything else, and that could really send the market screaming on the corn and bean side, both with little or no effort. It could jack things up pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's normally you take a look and you say, okay, what's our demand projections? What's the supply? Well, supply in the short run doesn't really matter if that happened. If Brazil shuts down or gets closes off 50% of their export capability, supply doesn't matter if you can't get it out of a country, and then all of a sudden it creates what appears to be, a supply shortage, and the United States could be a beneficiary of that. I mean, so far it hasn't affected in a great way our export capability, and I think that's probably a very high priority right now, high up the food chain to keep running normally as normal as possible. And so, yeah, I'm not wishing ill will on anyone. I'm not saying that's going to happen. But that could definitely be something here several days to weeks down the road that give us a little bit of a competitive advantage and maybe a surge in exports, particularly on the bean side, but it could also be corn. The wheat market is 12 cents higher here today. There's been a little bit of back and forth on what Russia's going to do, and they finally came out and said we, at least through June, are going to limit our wheat exports. They're fighting this badly, starting to be bad as well, and so they want to make sure that they have enough domestic supplies, to feed their people. And so they're going to, at least for the time being, limit some exports. So that's good news for us. It means we're likely going to be in the mix to get some wheat export business that we may not have had. It doesn't mean there's any fewer bushels in the world, but in the short run, if somebody needs wheat, we may be the beneficiary of some export business that we wouldn't have had. So it can really affect things, and that's what we have to watch for. Wheat is one crop that here recently, has been at profitable levels, whether that's this crop that's in the field right now or next year. And so as producers, we really have to keep a close eye on that, play defense out there. There's a lot of ways to do that with different, option strategies and different types of cash sales contracts that kind of let you lock a floor in and still take advantage of upside prices. You really have to play defense, sharpen the pencil, know where your numbers are, and be willing to protect equity, protect your net worth, because obviously this is a risky time frame and something that we have never really faced before in most of our lives.
Yeah, it's crazy for sure, man. There is just stuff all over the place happening right now and it's moving so fast. You can't hardly keep ahead of it. When you start seeing a slide or something like that, whether it's on the protein side or the grain side of it, it's just when they decide to start going down, they can't stop going down. So it's the same way on the other side though too. I mean, there's as much rapid upside as there is rapid downside. So it's just cattle are a perfect example of that. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Just in the month of March, I'm looking at a June cattle chart. I'm going to give you some rough numbers. The 9th of March, June cattle were just slightly over $100. By the 16th, they were under 86. By the 25th of March, they were back just knocking on the door of $100. Yep.
And then yesterday, closed near 83. I mean, you're talking about that is a, 10, 20, 30, probably closer to a $40 swing back and forth than 30 in less than a month's time. Unprecedented.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to stay on top of that. And, a lot of our markets are like that. Certainly the stock market's been like that. Crude oil, it's coming really fast. It seems like every week in the markets is a month long now. I mean, you cover so much ground.
Yeah.
There's so much information hitting you at once. You get to Friday afternoon, you're like, geez, was that just 1 week? It literally feels like that was a month. Mm-hmm. And you are. I mean, those are price moves in cattle and some of these markets that happen in 4 days that took 4 months previously to cover that ground, and it's happening in sometimes 2-3 days. So it is, but with that comes opportunity. That's the key to this. With that comes opportunity. It's just hard to keep our wits about us with so much hitting us at once.
Yep. Well, it's a perfect time to work on that plan, Chip. So if folks are doing something like that or just reviewing a plan what they have right now, I'm sure there's plenty of folks that have a plan all set up, and now all of a sudden this craziness hits, and what does it look like, and what do you do, and all kinds of craziness happening there. What's the best way for them to get a hold of you to walk through that plan or just pick your brain about what's going on?
Yeah, the best way is just call our office. Main office number is 309-550-7213, and we'd love to chat with you. There's a lot going on in the markets. There's a lot to be planning for, and now more than ever is a time to have an extra set of eyes and ears helping you out. So we'd love to chat with you.
Yeah. All right, Chip. Well, thanks for being on the podcast. I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go to at Moving Iron LLC. Make sure you check out movingironllc.com for all the latest Moving Iron LLC stuff, blog posts, those kind of things. And also check out the Global Ag Network and all the great podcasters out there. So until next time, I am Casey Seymour with Chip Nellinger. Let's go with some iron, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century.